We're here this week.
Hello.
Here this week.
Hey.
We're lacking an accent this week. It's good. Georgia, what have you been up to?
Oh gosh. Well, I've been trying to work on my show, but I'm doing business for my dad. Like, I'm helping with paperwork, so he's been like really swamped lately. So I've been doing that, and that's been taking away from my show. And I had a third episode in mind that I was ready to do. It's this like crazy Korean movie, but I found another movie. Yeah, it's killer hair extensions, but it's not. But yeah,
sounds amazing. That sounds like the best thing I've ever heard in my life.
But the thing is, a few weeks back, I was watching this movie with my boyfriend, and I still can't stop thinking about it. I'm actually gonna make that my third episode.
Mm-hmm.
It's called The Baby, and
The Baby.
Yeah, I know. It's pretty much that. It's this social worker who finds this guy who is pretty much raised to be a baby by his mother and his crazy sisters.
So it's like,
it's just as creepy as you'd think it would be. Is
it like one of those shows with like, is it like one of those things you see on like those TV shows that like highlight different like fetishes and shit, and there's always that one guy in one of those series that has like the being treated like a baby fetish?
Not exactly. No, it's not really
like that.
It's not a fetish. It's just
it's just a thing, and then sometimes it's not
he's just like a baby.
Yeah.
They just keep him like as a baby for like his whole life. Like he's like an adult, and it's like an actual adult playing him, and he's a really good actor, whoever he is. But it's so weird and so fucked up, and I'm just like, I have to do this.
Yeah. And
I researched, and actually some of the other actors involved are actually in famous movies, so I can't wait to poke fun at that. So I'm very excited, and I would say watch the trailer because there's one on YouTube, but please don't, because it gives away the spoiler ending. I'm really pissed about that. So I know I was like shocked. So I was just, don't watch it on YouTube, please. Well, I think they have the whole movie, but don't watch the trailer, please. Don't.
I think it reminds me, like, Ryan Gosling is in this movie. And, you know, Ryan Gosling's, like, really well known for being, like, you know, hey, girl, and, you know, being, like, really good looking and, like, suave and just, like, really adorable. But he's actually in this really creepy movie. It's called Lars and the Real Girl. And
I heard about that.
And it's about him being one of those guys that has, like treating a doll, like a human-looking doll, like a real girlfriend.
Yeah, I think I saw a trailer for it.
It's really fucked up.
Like, he carries her around, and, like, he sees her as a normal person, but everybody else sees her as a doll, right?
It's fucked up, but it's kind of cute, because it's Ryan Gosling, but he has, like, this weird pedo stash, so it makes it even better. My mom loves that movie, for some reason, but anyway.
She must be a Ryan Gosling fan.
She's more of a, like, I guess, like the one she's been obsessed with lately is she's always been obsessed with Paul Rudd. She loves Paul Rudd and Judd Apatow and
Paul Rudd's kind of
and John Hamm and his really big dick. No, did you ever see that picture that came out? It was last year.
No.
John Hamm was.
Serena, you know anything about this?
Okay, no, I don't even think my mom knows about this, but, like, John Hamm, there's this paparazzi picture of John Hamm, and he's walking down the street with, like, I guess, I don't know if he's married, I don't know if it was his wife or his girlfriend or whatever, but he's, like, walking down the street, and, like, he's wearing, like, sweatpants, I guess, and through his sweatpants you could just see the outline of his cock.
Whoa.
And it's the best picture that was ever taken in 2012.
Oh my god.
No wonder everyone likes Mad Men so much.
No, Mad Men, I've heard Mad Men is very great, but, I mean, that was the highlight of my year with John Hamm, I think it was him,
like I've heard
him
that
at the
before.
Golden Globe, which was actually this year, it was him at the Golden Globes, and then that picture with him on the sidewalk, and it was just like, well, that happened, you know?
I feel like I've heard that before.
Yeah, it was
like someone was just like, oh, he's, you know, it's so big or something like that.
Yeah, I want to say it was around, like, October of 2012 or something. Just look up John Hamm penis and you'll find it.
Please do it. Lives are at stake. You know, it's funny you mention something like that, because I picked up a magazine yesterday just because that like one of those gossip magazines, strictly because the cover just said like we're gonna like rate celebrities like who's best in bed, who's sucked, who's really bad at it, and they pick like various celebrities, and it was actually
Based
quite an
on
interesting
what?
read. They talk to past lovers and stuff like that. It's probably all bullshit, but it's just fun to read anyway. Like, I still have the magazine if you want me to go get it.
Scenario, like, it must be people that have like, oh yeah, I totally slept with James Franco, totally, and it's like about as legitimate as that girl saying she slept with Justin Bieber like last year.
Yeah, actually, he's on there too. I forget what they said about him. But seriously, I could go grab it if you want.
Isn't Justin Bieber? He's like super like Christian though, or some shit, isn't he? Like,
I don't know. I don't listen to anything.
He has a tattoo of Jesus or something on him.
Where?
I don't know, like on his leg or arm or some shit. I don't know. He got.
Okay, good. Because if that was on his ass, that would be pretty bad.
It's like a small little tattoo of Jesus that he has on him. Which is, I always find it really weird when, like, really Christian-y people get tattoos of something really religious on them, even though I think it's in the Bible it says, like, you can't put tattoos on you.
Well, I don't know about that. I know that in the Jewish religion you're not allowed to have tattoos. I can't speak for Christianity.
Yeah. Oh, I've never heard about the tattoo thing in Christianity, but I was raised Ukrainian Catholic, so it's probably different.
Interesting. Cool.
Justin Bieber hosted Saturday Night Live last night, if that's relevant.
Was that good?
I don't watch
how was he?
I think my mom watched it. I haven't heard from her, but I saw a couple of clips and it was pretty good. I mean, it was funny, I think the main thing I found funny was like when they announced it, there was just such an overreaction from grown adults.
That's what I figured. I figured just like no matter what, he would probably get panned.
On the Facebook page, it was just like, man, I'm never gonna watch Saturday Night Live ever again. I'm like, you're 45 years old. Look at your life. It's just like you don't even know. You don't even completely understand the word overreaction until you saw those Facebook posts. It was awful.
Sadly, I believe you, just because, like, really, I know nothing about the guy, just that he's a singer and people like him, but I have friends who hate him, so I can imagine the backlash.
They listen to the chorus of Baby, and they're like, man, I don't know. I hate his fucking gut.
But if you think about it, he has to be pretty brave to go on Saturday Night Live, just because he knows he's gonna get, made fun of, like, and more.
I heard, like, I watched a little segment of it. He made fun of himself. Like, I mean, he talked about, like, there was that controversy about a month ago about him smoking pot, and I think which he actually did, and I think he made fun of himself about it, and I'm like, oh, that's cute, whatever.
Yeah, at least he can make fun of himself.
I have no personal preference for Justin Bieber. I think some of the songs on his new album are pretty good. That's really all I can say.
Yeah, I got nothing
I'm sure
on the
he's
guy.
a good kid. Like, oh, you Biebs. You still 12-year-old.
The one thing that did bother me about him was like when he was starting to become famous, or like when he was just like he wasn't as famous as before. He was like doing an interview and they said like it was something about rape, and he was just like, oh well, if it happens, it happens, It was either, I want to say it was either Vanity Fair or Rolling Stone. I want to say it was Rolling Stone. Yeah, my main problem with that is, like, why does the opinion of a little, why would you ask a 16-year-old pop star that? I don't really understand. What was the question again?
It was about rape, I think.
It was about abortion.
One of those things, one of those hot topics. And I'm like, why would you ask a 16-year-old kid that?
Yeah, like, he doesn't know. They asked him if a woman should get an abortion if she was raped, and he was just kind of like, oh, I don't know, that's pretty horrible.
And who knows how out of context that was taken. I'm always iffy about magazine interviews, like, because things can always be taken out of context.
You're probably right, but it was just really weird anyway.
Like, then the journalist is like, I should
like,
write it this way, and he didn't actually say it this way, but I'll write it this way just to make it more controversial.
Yeah, and then like months later, maybe even years later, I don't know, but I just kept seeing this thing all over Facebook that like someone like a fan of his got raped at a concert and then he like comforted her and just like I guess took her to the hospital.
Yeah,
it was.
I think
What?
the picture was like it was captioned with a picture, and then the picture was actually like some girl at a Justin Bieber concert who was crying because it was Justin Bieber.
That would make sense because I saw it all over Facebook and I'm just like, why is everybody like?
Somebody made that up for.
Yeah, I wouldn't be surprised. I've seen so many things on Tumblr like that. Like there was this thing
that
had like
fanfic though, you know. Sounds like a great fanfic that some Bieber fan probably wrote.
Ugh. Yuck.
But like, did you see that thing that was going around Tumblr a few months ago? I don't remember. It had like so many reblogs. It was like
I don't have a Tumblr, so please explain to the older folk like me.
I probably know about it.
Well, it was just this picture. Okay, you know, I'm not American, so I don't really know the right names for everything. But you know the famous picture of the soldier at World War II, and
he's kissing that lady.
Yeah, he kisses the nurse, right? And then so the description under it was like, oh, well, they found that lady, and that guy was drunk, and he just went all over her and started doing that, and it was like this huge sexual assault that's now like glorified, and everyone was like, oh my god, that's horrible. But if you actually look it up, which no one did.
No one did the research. Research. What's that?
What is this thing you speak of?
Like, nobody actually knows for sure who either of those people in the picture are, and there have been like 20 different people who have claimed it's them.
That's not, well, I think I can decipher that. Just, I saw this, well, it was like part of a clip somewhere. They interviewed the woman who was in that picture. Like, she's still alive. She's like 90 something, and they interviewed her, and they said like, and she said, pretty much, he was just a soldier on, coming back from the war, and he just kissed her. I don't think it was anything other than that.
Yeah. And then, like, all these feminism, social justice blogs were claiming that it was sexual assault. And I'm like, you're a fucking idiot.
He was just happy to be back.
I mean, fuck, I don't even know. And then people were like, there's even a statue of it, and it's glorifying rape culture. And I'm like, what the fuck does that even fucking mean? You fucking idiots. Yeah, there's like a statue of it somewhere. I want to say it's not in DC, it's somewhere. But
you'd think it would be in Times Square because that's where it happened.
Yeah, I don't think it's there. I've been to Times Square. I never saw that, but it's somewhere. But yeah, I remember that going around about a year ago, and I'm like, you guys are fucking retarded.
I know.
People are just sensitive. They're not retarded. They're just sensitive about everything.
Yeah. I'm sorry, I said retarded. That's not PC. People can be very sensitive, Georgia.
Exactly.
But, or like, the other thing, there was like, it wasn't like a big thing. It was only like 2 reporters who said it, but there were these 2 reporters who were like, when Katy Perry won her like Billboard Woman of the Year because she got the most hit songs, and they were like, well, she can't accept that award because she said she's not a feminist. She doesn't believe in the patriarchy, so how can she accept that award?
What does that have to do with anything?
I know, I'm like, what does that? She got the most songs that were hits. That's the award.
Yeah, that should count. That should count if you're at like a feminist award show.
Those kinds of posts that make me so angry at Tumblr. Like, I've seen posts like that for people who are just like so radical for like the politically correct stuff and like sexual assault and shit like that. Social justice blogs that are just like so extreme. When I see posts like that, that just make me want to like, I'm quitting Tumblr today. I'm quitting it right now. Like,
I'm quitting right now after I look at this post.
I get so filled with rage and I have to go take a walk.
Or like I saw this thing like a few days ago. This girl was complaining. Okay, they have this campaign, this Men Can Stop Rape campaign, and there was a bunch of guys that were like, well, this campaign, it ignores male victims and it assumes that any man at any time could be a rapist if he has the right opportunity. And so this woman was like, the only reason that people think men can't be victims is because people think that rape is something that happens to women, and it's because all these misogynists. I'm like, it's because of your stupid campaign, you idiot.
And rape can happen to men, just not as common. It's just a lot less common.
Yeah, rape can happen. It's like, even though it's a vast minority, I mean, it still happens. There's a vast minority of people in this world who eat pineapples on pizza, but they still make frozen pizzas with pineapples on them.
Hawaiian pizza.
Well, don't forget that also, I mean, it's a minority, but it's also kind of unaccounted for because so much of it, it's like the most unreported
Oh, yeah.
crime ever.
With men and women.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Rape.
It's sad. So,
Right.
how are you? Just kind of died there. So, the Super Bowl. I don't know.
Beyonce was fucking fabulous, and I cried.
Really?
No, because I was so excited for Destiny's Child. The second I heard about that, I was like, oh my god, they were my shit when I was a kid. Like,
yeah, it was exciting until you realized they only had one song, and then the second song they were her backup singers, and then the third song they were gone.
They were still on stage together for the first time in years. I was so fucking excited, and it was like Kelly and Michelle just popped out, and I'm like, oh my god. I was so fucking excited, and I started to cry. Like, I was like, oh my god, this is happening. Like, it would be, the only thing that would match up to that would be, like, if NSYNC got back together one day. Like, if
oh my god.
Because NSYNC, I preferred, when I was a kid, I preferred NSYNC over Backstreet Boys any day of the week. So
I couldn't choose. It was too much of a dilemma.
When I was a kid, I hated them both.
I have NSYNC's entire discography. Even their last one that they made, like the one, I think it was like early 2000s, they put out one album and then they split, and then but because it was when Justin Timberlake was starting to get like super popular, so then they had to split, and I got really sad. And then, like, the only thing that would be better than Destiny's Child getting back together, the only thing that could match up to that would be, like, if Justin Timberlake just called up all the NSYNC members and are like, hey...
I would have flipped out.
Oh my god.
I was a huge NSYNC fan. I saw them in concert.
You lucky whore. Holy shit.
And I remember, like, my dad took me, so he'd, like, sit there on the side, like, with earplugs. And there was, like, they had, like, this really interesting stage show. It was, like, I don't know, they were in, like, this kind of plexiglass thing above the stage for just a little bit, and they were doing their dance moves up there, and then Justin pointed at me, or pointed near that area where I was, and the lady behind me fainted. And all of her friends were like, oh my god, are you okay?
No, I mean, it would be a treat to see, like, JC and all of them again, but then it's, like, Justin Timberlake.
JC was my favorite.
But it's, like, Justin Timberlake. I just love him. He came out with a new song a couple weeks ago, and anytime it comes on the radio, I just fucking scream, because I'm like, oh! Yeah, it's like his new single.
So much feels.
He did a new single, because he's coming out with new music. So he does a song called Suit and Tie with him and Jay-Z, which it's amazing. Like, it is really great. It's so, like, loungy, but it's also really sexy, and Jay-Z sounds great in it, and anytime it comes on the radio, I just flip my shit.
Oh, wow.
That's so weird. Like, how old were you when they were popular, though?
Like, I was pretty young.
Oh, jeez.
I was still in my single digits, so...
Yeah, because for me, it was before kindergarten when they were big.
But it was when I was super...
I feel old.
It was like, I want to say it was almost at the tail end of their popularity, because I got all these CDs that were like hand-me-down CDs, and then I started to get really into them and noticing that they were in the magazines and stuff, so I want to say it was like mid to end of their popularity, but I was still really into them. I was just like, I really love these guys.
I just remember, like, me and all my 4-year-old friends who lived in the neighborhood would get together and when we'd play, and we hated them so much. Like, I remember my friend Carly, she always used to say, like, oh, they're such losers. They're just trying to be the Spice Girls, but boys.
Wow. I guess that's true. Well, you know, at that point, a lot of people were doing that. I'm probably old enough to remember all the other knockoff bands that were going on, too, because, like, you know, people give NSYNC and Backstreet Boys crap, which... I guess they deserve, because, you know, it's good music, but it's not, like, masterful. But there were even worse. There was 98 Degrees, LFO, O-Town. O-Town wasn't even a real band.
I just remember Ashley Angel from O-Town was on Clone High. Like, that's
what the hell kind of name is that?
Probably not a real one. Probably not the name her mother gave her.
Do you remember on Pig City they had like the parody? They had Oink Town.
No, what is that?
This show about pigs from when I was a kid. They had a parody of O Town called
You
Oink
have to
Town.
remember that we're in America.
That's kind of cute.
You
That's
Canadians
cute, though. I
have
like
the
that.
druggiest ass. Oh my god, Fran showed me this clip of a British show, and it was like a claymation show called what is it? Magic Round. No, it was Magic Roundabout. Have either of you heard of this? Magic Roundabout?
No.
Fucking. I don't know what the fuck they're doing to those British kids over there, but now I know why most of them are like really fucking weird. It's because
I'm telling Fran you said
watched shit like Magic Roundabout. That show.
Now you're gonna have to explain yourself.
You YouTube a clip of Magic Roundabout and then just have an afternoon to just think about what you just saw.
Oh, come on, you gotta tell us more than that.
I don't even fucking remember. There was like a dog thing and a train thing, and I think he was trying.
Oh, you know
like
what?
The dog thing was trying to be a bus or something. It was fucking weird. And then
wow, I want whatever they're smoking.
In Canada, we get a lot of the British kids shows, and there's this one, you probably heard of it. It's called In the Night Garden.
That sounds like a romance novel.
I know, but it's like these little puppets, and everything has the dumbest name ever, and there's this weird narrator, and he's like, oh, here comes the Tinky Tonk to take the booty hoos to the wimpy.
See, why can't American shows be this trippy?
like,
and they used to be, but then like I don't know, it stopped.
Mr. Rogers was kind of like that, I guess. I mean, Mr. Rogers was kind of weird when you think about it.
I was really little when I watched Mr. Rogers, so I don't remember
my jam. I loved that show. I just sat in front of TV and watched Mr. Rogers every day. It was Mr. Rogers and Sesame Street. That was my jam.
It was like Mr. Dress Up for me. That was the one.
Wait, is that an actual show, Mr. Dress Up?
Yes. Oh my god, you guys.
No, I'm sorry. I haven't heard
of that either.
The only other encounter of that is Mrs. Doubtfire.
You know what? Mr. Dress Up must be Canadian then.
Yeah, I've never heard of that.
What does he do? He just wears dresses?
No, he doesn't dress up in women's clothing. He just wears costumes.
Okay, well, I don't know.
I remember recently, it was actually like a couple months ago, I was up really late, and one of the and there was nothing on TV, but, because it was, like, it must have been like 4 or 5 in the morning, and there was nothing on TV. And I realized that there's this little kids show. It's like a 24-hour toddler to kids show channel where they show like Sesame Street and all that stuff.
Yeah, isn't that Sprout or something?
And I realized,
we have to treat
I got it in my room, and they were showing Sesame Street. I'm like, man, I haven't watched an episode of Sesame Street in years. Keep in mind, this was like a month ago.
You were disappointed, weren't you?
No, like I was just like it was so, like, nostalgic at first, but then I'm like, did they really think that kids are this fucking stupid? and I would get frustrated at the characters, and it's almost weird, because I'm, like, almost 20 years old, so it's just like, well, but, it was, like, I forget, like, fucking Teddy, fucking, Baby Bear, it was Baby Bear. He only ate porridge for breakfast, and Mr. Hooper didn't have no fucking porridge that morning for some reason, so he wouldn't eat anything, and then he almost passed out, and fucking Telly was like, we gotta take you to the doctor.
Wow, he really likes porridge.
I'm like, what the hell is going on? They were basically teaching kids to eat breakfast, or else you will get, like, a blood sugar problem. Which...
You know, I just realized that sort of makes sense, because, like, well, I mean, this is probably really stupid, but, you know, there are eating disorders out there, and I guess it's good for kids to learn that. I don't know.
But it's basically like, eat breakfast in the morning, or you will get shaky and have low blood sugar by the end of the day.
That's true. Some people don't eat breakfast, and, like, I know people like that, and I always eat breakfast. I have to, otherwise I feel sick.
Well, then the message
so
was mixed because it's like, well, Baby Bear just eats porridge. He eats porridge for everything. He doesn't eat anything else. Baby Bear had never had eggs before, and he's like, I don't want to.
His life is porridge.
Yeah, he's like, I don't want to try eggs. But then Telly's like, you might like it, and he's like, fine. And then he ends up really liking eggs. And then right at the last second, Mr. Hooper gets porridge, and he's like, you want some? And he's like, nah.
And then they cut the camera, and he was like, where the fuck did you have that? Why did you have that porridge beforehand, you ass?
I think it was Mr. Hooper. I remember, in the early Sesame Street, it's one, you can find this on YouTube, it's actually pretty famous. It's, one of the actors on Sesame Street, it was, one of the older actors had died. He had actually died in real life. So they did an episode about the character dying and teaching little kids about death, how to deal with it. Because Big Bird was like, well, oh God, I forget who it was. God.
Well, did they at least handle it tactfully?
Yes, it was well, he's not coming back anymore. He's dead. That means they're not coming back anymore. But, we're going to celebrate his life and be happy that, he was here and had friends like us. And, it was tasteful,
Okay, that's good. Because something like that could be really bad if you go in the wrong direction.
Yeah, it was the first Mr. Hooper. It was, it was the original,
God.
It was the original Mr. Hooper.
The old guy?
The older guy, yeah. It was, it was in the 80s, back when it was, still in its first seasons, I think.
It was not the first seasons in the 80s, because it started in, the late 60s.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, it's been going on for
Yeah, but it was in the 80s, and it was, the original Mr. Hooper.
Yeah, I'd believe that. But Sesame's always good, with that stuff. In the 70s, okay, I don't know if you've ever heard of this woman. Her name's Buffy St. Marie. She's kind of famous here.
Uh-huh.
I kind of like her name.
Well, she's, a Native American singer.
Mm-hmm.
Cool.
Yeah, like Shania Twain, or Cher, but less famous. And so, she actually went on Sesame Street in the 70s, and she got all dressed up in, her traditional Native dance costume, and she actually went on there and she was telling kids, now, kids, I know you might think that Natives are, imaginary, but they're actually real.
Oh, wow.
I know it seems crazy, but think about it.
But it's true, though. It sort of is.
Yeah. Japan and stuff, they lump natives in with mermaids and pirates, so kids
oh my God.
In a way, it's a backwards way of teaching acceptance, I guess.
Oh my God. Wow.
I mean, in the end, it's teaching acceptance, isn't it? I mean, you could say that.
Can I just make a side note and say Shania Twain baffles me?
Yeah.
Really? Why?
I used to be a fan of hers until I realized she's Canadian, and then I'm just I have nothing against that, but I'm just she's a country singer from Canada.
Keith Urban's a country singer from Australia.
Actually, Canada,
no offense, Serena, I swear.
No, but actually, Canadians have a real connection to country music.
Really?
Especially natives. That's their thing. It's so weird. It's actually really ironic, but if you go to Winnipeg, you will see tons of giant, fat native guys walking around with cowboy hats. It's awesome. But yeah, it's a big thing. Johnny Cash has always been huge here. Everyone, Hank Snow is from Canada.
Mm-hmm.
He wrote that famous song that Johnny Cash covered.
Yeah. Okay. Well, then I just sound really stupid, so.
Well, I mean,
anyway.
I remember my best friend was into Keith Urban for a while, for some reason, because we're against country music, but, she was really into Keith Urban for a while for some reason, and then, I found out he was Australian, and I'm like, what the hell? And you hear him talk, he's judging on American Idol right now, and you hear him talk, and he almost has, a twang with his Australian accent, which is a little weird. But, speaking of American Idol, I have a friend who has her best friend got to Hollywood Week on American Idol.
Congrats!
Yeah, I'm really excited. She told me if he makes it or not, and I'm not gonna say, but Yeah, keep an eye out for Adam Sanders. He auditioned with Etta James song. So,
Ooh, cool.
and he's really great. And I wish I actually knew him, but
Well, you have to be good if you're doing Etta
it's one of my,
James like
it's
that.
one of my really
yeah.
good friends who's a musician, and she's just really excited that he made it on there. So, you know, I'm just giving that a shout out. Just look up his audition. It's like one of the most viewed videos on the American Idol YouTube page right now. So, I mean, just find it. He's really great. He's a real sweetheart too. Again, I wish I actually knew him, but you know. What? Oh, the Grammys are tonight. We're recording on Sunday.
They are?
Tonight
We're
they
recording
are.
on Sunday. The Grammys are tonight. I have no interest in the Grammys really this year.
Me neither.
Does anyone?
I don't know.
Well, I guess because people watch it.
The past couple of days, I've seen a spike and people who were like, Grammys are trash now, and I'm like, when did this come up? Like, people are just randomly saying that the Grammys are just like trash now, and it's like, okay, if you want to feel that way, Mr. Hipster, you know. I mean, I think there are a couple people. Oh, like Justin Timberlake is performing on the Grammys, so I should probably watch for Justin Timberlake. But
and I think Adele is too. I think
Adele?
she's probably nominated for like a zillion
Adele
things.
wasn't nominated this year, I don't think, except for Skyfall. She only came out with Skyfall this year, so
Oh, okay.
I think that got nominated, if I'm not mistaken. She already won.
Well, I know she's performing it there tonight. She
already won a Golden Globe for it, so she's probably gonna win the Oscar for it. I don't know who else is performing. It's Bruno. I want to say Bruno Mars is performing tonight too, and I love Bruno Mars.
Probably.
I really love Bruno Mars. And Justin Timberlake. I don't know if he's opening or what. But he should be though. It's probably. I hope it's gonna be with him and Jay-Z.
Doing that song you love.
Yeah, that song I love. Oh, Elton John is gonna perform with Ed Sheeran, who does that pretty guitar song that's on the radio right now that I really like. And he has a good voice. I really like him, and he's gonna perform with Elton John, which will be pretty cool. Fun is performing. Kelly Clarkson. Lumineers, who I like live. I've heard them live now, and I think they're pretty. Oh, Taylor Swift is gonna perform too, which, I mean, I've been really into Taylor Swift lately for some reason, so I might watch that. Frank Ocean, I think I might watch for him just to see what all the buzz about him is about. I'm just naming ones off the top of my head that I can remember. Mumford & Sons, who I'm not really that into. Maroon 5 is probably gonna perform.
You know, one band I saw listed there was the Black Keys, and I probably would have forgotten that, except my sister just sort of got me into them like a week ago. She has some of their songs, and she described them as the next Led Zeppelin. I'm just like, wow, with a claim like that, I gotta listen. And they're not the next Led Zeppelin, but they're pretty good.
All I know about them is they're another indie band that had popped up. You know, like
pretty much, but they're
like
good.
Fun and stuff.
Mm-hmm. They got good guitars, and the singer's pretty good too.
Yeah, I hope after I don't know. Cause I know Heather likes Mumford & Sons. I just like the thing about Mumford & Sons for me, like they're just so like they're one of the biggest folk indie bands that have popped up. I don't know, like I think the only reason I don't really like them that much is only because of the hype they get. Like they're so overhyped, and then you actually listen to them and they're like, this is okay. Like, it's not brilliant or anything. It's nothing new, you know? I've heard this before somewhere. I can't even put my finger on where I've heard it before, but, you know. I like the Lumineers better, to be honest. If you listen to them live, they're really talented. But yeah, I'll probably watch for the performances. I don't really agree with the nominees this year, so, I mean, a lot of them I do agree with, but, not the ones that are being televised. Kind of suck. Because they're the non-televised Grammys, which they give out to, like, best vocal on a pop album, or, best comedy album. That's where they give out, or, like, best jazz album. That's where they give out those at the, like, I think Kathy Griffin calls them, because she says there's two when there's a big award show, there are technically two different award shows. With the Emmys, I think she started this with the Emmys. There are the televised Emmys, and then there are the day before non-televised Emmys, which are called the Schmemmys. She calls them. And then they have the same thing with the Grammys and the Oscars, and with the Grammys, it's the Schmemmys.
So it'll be the Schmoskers and the Schmammies.
So,
Yeah.
You know what, that makes sense, because there's so many people and there's so many categories.
Yeah, there's like over 120 categories for the Grammys, I think.
Holy shit.
Like, I know Matt and Trey, they always called the Emmys crap night, and they said, like, oh, we're animated, so we're always nominated on crap night.
Yeah.
You know, that must suck, though. Like, I mean, it'd be cool to go to an award show like that, but just to sit through, like, several hours. Because, like, truth be told, I went to an award show once.
Cool.
Yeah, my mom won a contest to go to the People's Choice Awards,
Cool.
like, 10 years ago. And so we
all
all,
the
like...
good-looking teenage actors go to.
Yeah, it was fun, but it wasn't, like... I don't think there was no, like, Schmemmies. There was no, like, pre-thing. It was just, like, all of it together.
Like the Grammys and the award shows with, like, the 100+ categories, you know?
Yeah, I can't even imagine sitting through something like that. Like, even if... God, that would just probably bore me to tears. Like, even if you get all, you know, glammed up and you're surrounded by famous people, like, God, that's gotta be, like, several hours.
Yeah, I remember, the year that, my Adam was nominated for a Grammy.
Your Adam.
When he was nominated for a Grammy Best Vocal on a Pop Album, it was one of his singles, and it was on the Schmammies. I'm not gonna lie, it was on the Schmammies, and they televised it, and it was like 4 or 5 hours long. Yeah,
my God.
It was really long because they had to go through different presenters and they had to present each award, and it was just like forever. And then the second they announced that he didn't win, I immediately turned it off. I don't know how much longer it went, but
it's like, fuck this. Click.
Serena, I heard someone say that Matt and Trey are only like one award away from getting a full EGOT, which is...
What's an EGOT?
EGOT is the acronym for someone who has won an Emmy, Grammy, Oscar, and Tony.
Yeah.
Holy crap.
They won a Tony. They won
They've
an
won
Emmy.
multiple Emmys.
What did they win a Tony for?
Book of Mormon.
I know they were nominated for Book of Mormon.
Oh, right,
And
of course.
they won a Grammy, or no, they won an...
They lost to Phil Collins for the Oscar.
Oh, yeah. Is it the Grammy or the Oscar that they're missing?
I think one of them. It must be the Oscar.
They won a Grammy. They won a Grammy for Book of Mormon soundtrack, didn't they?
Yeah, so it must be an Oscar because I don't think they were ever nominated again. Like, I know Team America wasn't nominated.
Yeah. I found out that there's this really my dog's barking. I found out that there's this I found this out from the Rooster Teeth podcast from a couple weeks ago. That there's this really fucked up Flash animation series that they did called like Princess something.
Oh yeah, I heard.
Have you ever seen it?
It's not very good, but you have to keep in mind I've seen
it's
pretty
supposed
much
to be like
everything
super
they've
fucked
ever
up.
done. It's kind of just
You have piqued my interest. What's it about?
it's about a dog. But yeah, and it has kind of messed up adventures, but it's kind of not very funny. It's kind of just like crude to be crude.
Yeah. I think I read a
okay.
description of it and I'm like, oh, that escalated quickly. Well then.
But speaking of like the Oscars and like awards shows being really long, like Matt and Trey, when they were nominated, they had this brilliant idea. They're like, okay, this is gonna be so awesome because we're obviously never gonna be nominated for anything again. So let's just trip on acid and wear dresses and go to the Oscars.
They were on acid when they did that?
Oh yeah,
I
and
think
so
I
that
remember
makes
that.
sense.
I think I remember seeing that.
I remember the dresses. Yeah. Oh God, I'm sorry. I probably get their names mixed up. Matt was wearing the Gwyneth Paltrow dress, and then Trey was wearing the that sexy Jennifer Lopez dress, right?
Yeah, and so they went, and they're like, this was such a good idea. And then like 2 hours in, they're like, this was the worst idea we've ever had.
But they look so good in their dresses.
That's usually how brilliant ideas end up, isn't it? Especially if drugs are involved.
Well, at least, that whether or not that was the best or worst idea, they can definitely say we had the craziest, award experience ever.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I dressed up like Gwyneth Paltrow and got an award. Nuts. And
Or we lost an award.
Oh, right.
Well, yeah, they ended up even losing that one, didn't they?
Like, that's gotta be just awful. But, like, one of my plans when I become a director, I want to make a movie about their life because they are so amazing. And I know just from listening to all their commentaries and stuff, I know all these great stories. Like, when the South Park movie, the trailer got released, they hated it so much because they said it was just like one of those trailers that had like all the lamest, stupidest jokes in it, and it didn't even say it was a musical or anything. And so they stole the print of the trailer and hid it in their trunk and recut their own trailer.
I remember the only real documentary about them I've seen is when Comedy Central showed this like 30-minute little documentary about what goes into making a South Park episode, and that was interesting enough, like the fact that they can make a show like that in a whole week. I mean, usually a lot of shows like that, it takes, even a 30-minute show takes longer than that.
Oh yeah, and like I did see one documentary from like 1998, and it was like interview with them, and it was like the entire story of how South Park first got made. And it was pretty interesting because it also had like Mary Kay Bergman and Isaac Hayes on there before they died and stuff. It was really cool. Yeah.
I remember when Isaac Hayes died, because my parents, especially my dad, really liked South Park. I remember when Isaac Hayes died, he was so sad because he's like, yeah, I know him from all these roles and stuff, but he's chef. And I'm like,
I know, I was sad too.
I'm like, I feel for you.
Especially because if you remember, like, he had already quit the show at that point, and, like, everyone, like, all the South Park fans, I remember we were all like, but maybe one day he'll come back, and he'll be chef again, and then he died, and we were like, what the
Now
fuck?
it will never happen,
Aww.
ever.
Poor guys.
I know, and even my brother was like, oh my god, did you even hear how he died? He was I bet he was murdered by the Scientologists.
Damn them!
I almost yeah, because didn't he quit the show over the Scientology thing?
Yeah, he
Yeah.
did.
Was he a Scientologist?
Yeah.
And then they did that big episode
Scientology.
about Chef where they had the Super Adventure Club in place of the Scientologists.
I remember that. That was great. And then that was actually like his last episode or something. Because he's like...
Well, he wasn't in it. They actually just spliced together old recordings.
Really?
To make
I didn't know that.
That's why it sounded so robotic.
Really? I gotta go back. It's been a long time since I've seen that one. Because I knew he quit over the Scientology thing, because I thought he was a Scientologist or like something like that. I remember, oh god, I got this question on I play You Don't Know Jack on Facebook, and there was this question about put these events in order of which they happened, and it had like the Anthony Weiner Wienergate thing, and then something else, and then the Closet Gate, which was the big controversy that happened when South Park did that episode about Tom Cruise not wanting to come out of the closet.
Yeah.
I'm like, oh my god, I completely forgot about that. And I didn't realize until I did a bunch of research that was like a super big deal.
Yeah, he was a huge baby about it. He was like, I'm not gonna do Mission Impossible 3 if you don't get that episode pulled.
But then he ended up doing 2 more Mission Impossible movies.
But like, yeah, like, I don't know. That show like ruled my life since the time I was like 14 to like
the dawn of
17.
time.
Yeah. I remember, like, I know, or I don't remember, it happens now, but I know on Comedy Central, like, at least twice a year, they show the South Park movie, like, completely uncut, but it's only, like, 2 a.m, like, all completely uncut and shit. And I always end up watching it because I'm like, man, I haven't seen this movie in a long time, you know?
But it's so good.
Yeah, it is good for a South Park movie. It's like, wow, this is actually good.
It's like, I think that's what the movies of TV shows should always be, you know? Like, you have your regular antagonist, and then you have the bigger antagonist that unites all your characters against a common force, and then you have, like, all these little emotional stories, too, with the characters. I think it's just perfect like that. Like, the Simpsons movie really disappointed me in that way, because it felt like, you know, I just didn't like the fact that instead of uniting all their characters, they, like, drove them apart. Like, even the family, they pitted against each other, and I just kind of found that weird. When I saw it, I was like, but they're the Simpsons. They're, like, the family that gets through everything, and now, like, the major plot point is they have a big fight. Like, I don't like that.
Yeah, I remember the Simpsons movie being okay. Like, it was alright.
I remember the hype for it was, like, the funnest summer of my life, because my mom was in Vancouver. She was helping my aunt move, and me and my dad and my brother were home, and my dad would go to work all day. Me and my brother would wake up, and we had this, like, little pool in the backyard. We'd just go in the pool all day. And then my dad would come home, we'd go to Sev, and we'd get, like, the special Simpsons Slurpees and the disgusting Simpsons donuts and the crusty every day. It was so fun.
That sounds like fun.
Yeah. So, something else happened. That I mean, it's kind of... I've just... Because people might be sometimes, like, super confused. But, the reason we talk about, That Guy with the Glasses so much is because we all met in a That Guy with the Glasses group that I made. And that's how we all met and came up with this dumb idea to do this dumb shit.
I know, because
so I feel almost obligated to talk about stuff that happens in that community all the time.
But
we have to. It is our sacred, nerdy duty to do this.
Before we start on that, can I just, a side note, in case anyone's ever wondering why we do this podcast, it's because someone in the group said, if we had a podcast, what would be a good name for it? And then someone else said, let's actually do a podcast.
Yeah.
Genius.
Yeah, I don't remember how that came up, but it just fucking happened. I don't know. Nostalgia Critic came back with his first episode after a while this time.
Ooh,
I liked it.
And all the nerd boys were happy.
Yeah, and all the fucking fanboys got their rubbed one out that day. Ew. That's what happened.
They just sat in front of their computer and jerked it to Timothy Green.
That's
exactly you guys are sick. Ew.
I super enjoyed him ripping this movie, because that movie is, like, offended me as somebody who grew up in an environment where my mom would do a lot of childcare, and she's very motherly, and then I grew up to do a bunch of childcare, and to see people like that act as parents, like, I was so offended. So I'm like, thank you. Like,
it's funny when that movie came out.
Bringing light to this movie that totally bombed at the box office.
Yeah, I remember when it came out, like, and then people just stopped talking about it. I never knew why. I guess I assumed it was just a bad movie, but I didn't know it was, like, offensive. Yeah, so I was surprised.
I was a little offended by it, by just watching the clips. And then somebody had the nerve on his Facebook page to go like, well, how can you say that you hate it if you haven't even seen the whole thing? That's really unfair to judge a movie by its review. And I'm like, well, obviously it's awful. I haven't seen movie 43, but obviously it's the worst movie in the century, because everybody says so. There is not one person who said they like movie 43, and there's not one person who said they like the Timothy Green movie. So no, I'm not gonna watch it, you fucking prick. Self-entitled.
Wow. Can I say one? Oh.
No, yeah? You go ahead.
Thanks. I am happy the Nostalgia Critic's back. I really, really am. But I don't know if I like the new direction that it's going in. Like, you know, I'm glad he brought his demo reel people with him. They're both really funny, and they both, you know, they seem like nice people. But it's just like, I don't know if I like this sketch comedy thing. It feels like Family Guy.
Are you used to him playing all the characters?
Pretty much. And it wasn't always just like, I don't know. I guess so. Because it just, and it feels like, you know, they all start out as good sketches and it's funny, but they just seem to go on for too long. And then it starts to feel like Family Guy and you're just like, will you shut up?
Of them did. Like a couple of them did, but I feel like a bunch of them like hit the right mark. Like, I feel like a couple sketches, like, I mean, I hope he uses it.
It just like took away from everything.
I hope he uses it in moderation, you know?
Yes, I think he'll learn to get better with it once he uses that technique more.
Because I know, like, everybody was so used to him playing, like, the multiple characters, like.
Yeah, I never really thought of it that way.
I don't think the I Was Frozen Today sketch would have been funny if it was two different people. The fact that it's both him is, that's what makes the majority of it really funny.
And plus his reactions. If there's one thing he can do is just like facial reactions. Like nobody can top that. So, but it just, I just really hope that he doesn't overdo it and make it like Family Guy where it just keeps going. And then you get distracted from the review and it's just like, how much longer is this sketch gonna go?
And coming from someone like me who really hates Family Guy,
me too.
It's like almost a necessity for me. Coming from someone like me who absolutely loathes that show, and then it's him who is like, it's okay, and I'm like, why, you know?
Why? Although I will say the Cheech Child thing, but that was my favorite of all of them. That was the best one. That was really, really funny.
But I mean, he'll probably get better at it, I think. And Rachel and Malcolm will probably get better at it too. You know, they
don't seem like they need to.
Yeah, I mean, it's kind of a transition to go from something like demo reel to like little sketches in between shit and stuff. So, I mean,
and I'm really intrigued as to what he's gonna do next.
Oh yeah,
since he doesn't have a cutoff date, like anything's possible.
And it's like, all the fanboys are like, whoa, it's every 2 weeks, and I'm like, well, I can wait.
Oh yeah, I forgot about that.
I'm glad about that. I'm happy with that, you know?
Yeah, whatever. He needs time.
I think another reason why they're doing it every 2 weeks is because I know a lot of people complain that when The Critic got really popular, like, basically, if you were on That Guy with the Glasses and you had a video queued up to go on whenever the Nostalgia Critic came out, like Wednesdays, I think it would come out. Wednesdays it would go up on the site.
I don't know.
It would like Tuesday night, Wednesday morning.
If you had a video that was queued up to be on That Guy with the Glasses on Wednesday, you were basically fucked. Like,
poor Phaelus.
Because you would get overshadowed by the Nostalgia Critic episode, you know? So that's probably another reason they're doing it every 2 weeks, is to give other people a chance to be on the page on Tuesday, you know?
That's a good point.
Yeah, that's true. But, like, I don't know. I guess I never understood how people could just go to the site and then click on the first video that's up and then, like, just leave. Like, I always scroll through all of them and I'd be like,
oh, but I mean,
I would prioritize, like, okay, there's a new Nostalgia Critic, a new Phaelus, and a new Film Brain. I'm gonna watch them all in this order at these times. But, you know, that's me.
I sort of did that. I would scroll around and I wouldn't like plan it out. I would just be like, oh, I'll watch this now and I'll watch this later or whatever. But I know what you mean. I really am curious as to what he's gonna do next because everybody has like a request, and it's funny. Like there's this one movie that I wrote on his fan page that he should do, and then like a week later he stopped making them. So I was just like, that
Georgia
sucks, but
was
well,
all
maybe
your
I
fault.
No! Right, now I'm gonna get, like, the fanboys are gonna come at me with torches and pitchforks. Yeah. But I was thinking, if he can't do it, I'll review it. But now that he's back, I don't know. I have to guard my new territory. It's actually I think I mentioned it already. It was the Balloon Farm. I mentioned it in an earlier podcast, and Rose just freaked out.
Oh, yeah, yeah.
My God, I remember
that.
It's a picture book called The Balloon Farm.
That's what it is. They made it into a movie, a really stupid movie with Mara Wilson.
Wow, that sounds so weird.
Yeah, so I was just like, he should totally do this. It would be great. And it would be. They could probably, she could probably come back for like another crazy cameo or something. I don't know. What would you guys want him to review?
One Crazy Summer.
What's that?
It's an 80s movie, like a teen movie with John Cusack, Demi Moore, Curtis Armstrong, and Bobcat Goldthwait, and it's so weird. It's by this guy, Savage Steve Holland, and he did this other movie called Better Off Dead, which was pretty good, but like One Crazy Summer, it's just sort of all these jokes that don't make any sense, and the plot is really, it's hard to explain. It's not really, you just have to see it, because, for example, there's a scene where they're in the doctor's office, and for absolutely no reason, a dog in a doctor costume comes by wheeling a cat on a wheelchair, and it's like a real dog, real cat, and they just walk by and no one mentions it.
Big lipped alligator.
Seriously.
And they, like, the whole plot is them trying to save a house from being turned into a lobster restaurant, and, like, I swear to God, the DVD commentary is so much more entertaining than the movie. Like, it's just Bobcat Goldthwait, Savage Steve Holland, and Curtis Armstrong, and the director's going like, what was I thinking? None of this works. And then Curtis is like, no, it's good, Steve, it's funny. And then Bobcat Goldthwait's like, I cannot understand what I'm saying in any of my movies.
Well, at least they're honest.
Oh at least the director is like,
it sounds like one of those
made a terrible mistake.
It sounds like one of those like quirky comedies that people, that they make about like weird people,
Yeah, except that none of the people in it are weird enough. Like, it's John Cusack is like an animator, and then Demi Moore is like a hippie, and then Curtis Armstrong's a really wimpy kid who's like obsessed, or like a wimpy teenager who's like obsessed with like dolls and stuff, but his dad's like a big gruff army guy. And then there's Egg and Steve or something, and they're like twins, but they don't look the same.
Interesting.
It's like they're almost quirky, but not quite.
Greer, what would you want him to review?
I don't think about this shit. I don't know.
Why not? You call yourself a Channel Awesome fan.
You should dwell on this all day.
I should dwell on it all day and post all about it on Doug's Facebook page and then jerk off.
Yes. Do it. He needs to know.
I don't know. Probably a Raiders of the Story arc on something. I don't know. I haven't seen enough bad films. The last bad film I really saw was like, my mom was watching this movie called Horrible Bosses, which was a movie that came out last year.
I love that movie!
There were like 2 parts in it that I laughed at.
Okay, you and me have a disagreement because me and my best friend Sky saw that movie in the theater and we laughed the entire way through, and then I saw it with my mom and my brother when it came out on DVD and we laughed the entire way through.
I haven't seen it, so
there were like
no
a couple
comments.
parts that I laughed at. My mom liked it more than I did, but I'm like, I
think, I don't know, definitely, like, I know a lot of people really hated Bridesmaids, and me and my friend Sky saw it like 3 times in the theater, and then I saw it with my cousin, and we just fucking loved it.
My mom didn't like Bridesmaids that much, but I know my best friend and her mom really like it.
I think all my family, like my parents and my sister saw it, and they really liked Bridesmaids. They want me to see it. So
I remember everyone went crazy for Pitch Perfect. Like, everyone was like, it's so good, and I saw it with my friend, and I was like, it's okay.
My best friend loved Pitch Perfect, only because I think
What's that one again?
It's the comedy with the a cappella group. It has Rebel Wilson in it.
My spirit animal.
It's
about a show.
I really don't know what to say after that.
It's a comedy about basically an a cappella show choir group. And my friend, who I might have talked about this in the last one, but my friend who's in a music major, she's in like choir. And she goes to college for music majoring. And she's in like a touring singing group and stuff. And she's like, she saw that movie, and she's like, this is the best movie I've ever seen in my life. Because she's like, that's exactly how show choir is. Like, that's exactly how it is. Like she's like, this is like the perfect movie for me. And she thought it was perfect. I haven't seen it, but I mean, she really liked it, so. But, I remember, God, I don't remember. I started watching, it's not a bad movie, I started watching Despicable Me last night, but then I got really tired, so I went to bed. I watched like the first 30 minutes, and it was pretty funny from what I saw, but then
It is so cute. It's like, it's cute, but without being obnoxiously cute.
But then I went to bed, because I was just getting so tired, I didn't want to fall asleep in the middle of it, so I just went to bed.
I'm worried about the sequel, though, just because, like...
The sequel looks like it's gonna be all about those little minion guys.
I guess, because, like, there's really nowhere for the story to go.
Is Steve Carell even gonna be in that movie? Like...
Oh, I hope so. That would be weird.
From the trailers, it looks like they're just gonna cash in on, like, the little minions, and, like...
Well, they are really cute.
But they've been taking on a life of their own since that movie came out, like...
Because they're an easy cash-in, because they're cute little things, so... That's
why
Megamind's not getting a sequel, because there wasn't anything really cute in it.
Yeah, and, like, those designs, you know, they're so easy to turn into a plush and a keychain and a this and a that and slap it on a t-shirt.
But they're so cute!
But they're so simplistic, too, so you can, like, work with them.
I actually have Megamind on DVD, but I've never watched it.
I
don't know. I have a bunch of movies that I, like, bought on a whim when I had some money, and I just bought a bunch of movies, but I haven't watched them. Like, I have Sherlock Holmes 2, and I still haven't watched it. I have Megamind. Well, I love the Guy Ritchie Sherlock Holmes movies, so, I mean, stop it. I have Megamind, and I haven't watched it.
Well, I got a few DVDs I haven't watched either, so.
I don't have any DVDs I've never watched.
I actually bought these 2 DVDs, and they were like $5 each, and each of them has all one of them has the first 4 Nightmare on Elm Streets, and then the other one has 5 through Freddy vs. Jason, and they were $5 each, and I'm like, well, I gotta get them. They're just sitting there. I gotta get them, you know. It's my favorite.
That's a pretty good bargain.
It's my favorite slasher villain. I just gotta get him. I'm staring at my friend. I'm just like, I just gotta get these. She's like, fine. She hates slasher movies. She hates me for it. But oh god, like I'm trying to think of, like, I have a bunch of movies that, like, I bought this one movie, which might be because apparently it's a movie that's. Me and my brother bought it out of the $5 bin at Walmart because it looked hilarious. It's called Hellacious Acres. It's apparently some indie film that's based off a video game, but it looks absolutely awful, and I promised my brother that we watch it one day, but we still haven't. Hellacious Acres. I had never heard of it before. Me and my brother read the back and saw it was based off a video game, but also saw that it was, like, it won at some indie festival, and I'm like, this looks awful. We need to watch this. My brother wanted to get it just for the name. He loved the name, Hellacious Acres. Anybody has heard of this movie, please tell me. I don't want to know if it's good or bad. I still haven't read any reviews on it. I did not even go Google it or anything like that, but I want to see it for myself one day.
Well, like...
One day.
My mom, oh my god. Speaking of movies, my mom hates watching movies with me and my dad because we go to the theater, and this is what me and my dad do, and I know it's probably really rude and annoying, but we can't help it, okay? We just go to the movies, and when the trailers are playing, if something looks really crappy, and this is totally my dad's fault. He totally does it first, and then I join in. He starts going, boo! Boo! And then I start booing.
Why?
All the trailers that we don't like. And my mom gets so annoyed. She's like, could you not do that? Like, it's so rude. I'm like, it's just the trailers. No one cares. But then,
I've done that before.
on top of that, my mom always ends up picking, like, the worst movies. Like, okay, so some of the movies she dragged us to. Okay, Indiana Jones and the Crystal Skull, first of all. That's kind of like an famously bad one, but then she also dragged us to, like, stuff like The Water Horse. I don't know, do you remember that movie?
Water Horse. Oh
my god,
I don't know if I've heard of that.
We hated it so much. The other one she loved.
I have to give it that. But I don't know. It warmed my heart, I have to say. But it was mediocre. Not.
My brother, though, he's like a huge war buff, and like every time there was an inaccuracy about World War II or whatever it took place, I think it was World War II, he was like, "That's so wrong. They didn't use that kind of plane until 2 months later. They're so stupid." And then the other one she took us to that me and my brother and my dad hated, but she loved was August Rush.
I heard about that.
I remember that. I saw that. That was really.
Oh.
No, it was what's that guy's name?
Robin Williams or someone who looked like Robin Williams?
It was Robin Williams. He was there. It was a weird movie. It was like this couple, like this young couple has a kid, and then like they can't like take care of him or something. I barely remember it. And so he like runs away, and he finds like these group of kids who are pretty much being like, I don't want to say pimped out, but they kind of are. By
like
Robin
Oliver
Williams.
Twist, except it's like music instead of stealing. It's like playing music on the street for money.
It was kind of bland. Mm-hmm.
I just remember the scene where he does this big orchestra, and then both his parents magically show up, and then they look at each other like, "It's you!"
I know, I've been waiting for you. Yeah, I remember that. His parents were so, like, they were pretty, like, dense. They were just like, "Oh, I love you, but I can't see you anymore. Oh, no." And I remember, God, who was the dad? He was gorgeous. What was his name?
I don't know. I just remember they were
he was really hot.
Trying to make him like aggressively cool. Like every scene he was in there was like, "Look how cool he is. He's a punk rocker. He's so cool."
I guess it worked.
And then the last movie I remember we hated that she loved was this windshield wiper movie about the guy who invented. He didn't even invent the windshield wiper. He invented the kind of windshield wiper that stops for a second and then it keeps going.
I saw the trailer for that. That looked hilarious. Like, it looked like it was such a moving, captivating drama about the guy who makes windshield wipers. That's hilarious.
But it was so boring. And the whole
Was it really? Oh.
The whole movie's him, and they rip off his idea, and then he's like, "Can I have my idea back?" And they're like, "No." And he's like, "Can I have some money?" And they're like, "No." And then his whole family leaves him, and then when he's like 85, he gets a check in the mail.
That's like a 5-second movie thing right there. Can I get my money? No. Can I get my idea back? No. Yeah. The end. Oh, man.
I think something that came out this week that it's being rumored that, like, because, the Avengers made more than $1 billion in the box office, correct? Yes.
Woo-hoo.
So, they're, like, so many rumors are flying around, like, what they're gonna do for, like, because, I think it was the movies that lit up to the Avengers, it was Marvel Phase 1, that's what they called it. And then, like, they're already planning, like, rumors are flying, like, what Phase 2 and Phase 3 are gonna be. And then, like, Avengers 2, and, it's probably after Avengers 2, which is weird. And then they're already planning a bunch of Hulk movies, which I'm excited about. Like, one of them might be World War Hulk. And I'm like, oh.
What? Well, as long as they keep, like, someone who can stay being the Hulk, because he keeps, like,
Mark Ruffalo!
Being recasted.
I just need Mark Ruffalo in all my Hulk movies, and I'll be happy for the rest of my life. To be honest.
Oh.
Well, when are they can they make one about a lady already? Like, seriously. Can we
get,
the
She-Hulk. Or...
Yeah, like She-Hulk or fucking, they couldn't have given Black Widow her own.
No, because that doesn't make money. Women superheroes don't make money. Don't be
Black
silly.
Widow kicked ass in,
and showed a lot of
ass in Iron Man 2 and Avengers, to be fair.
I know, to be fair, those movies were like, that's the thing, though. They couldn't have put her in a movie called Black Widow and then had Iron Man be in it. They had to have a movie called Iron Man and then have her be in it.
Of course.
I mean, the only real big female Marvel hero I can think of is, like, like She-Hulk and, maybe some of the X-Men women, like Storm.
Yeah.
But is something in me probably knows that they'd fuck it up somehow. Like,
who would they cast as She-Hulk if they made a She-Hulk movie?
Well, there's that picture circulating about Beyonce as She-Hulk, but I don't know.
I always thought like they should use like one of those like lady wrestlers
like
or something.
fucking
They always
China
have
or
to do
some
that.
shit. I don't know, but
Funny you should say that. I didn't want to bring it up, but since you said that, I watched this guy called The Porn Critic. He's
I love
really
the
funny.
Porn Critic. Love
And
him.
he reviewed apparently they made an Avengers porno parody.
That. Yep.
And
I watched the review. I didn't watch.
she was in it as the She-Hulk.
Who was? Oh my!
China.
Oh, I forgot about that.
Yeah, and he keeps making fun of how ugly she is. It was pretty funny, but yeah, that's already happened.
I mean, Tigra. They can make a movie about Tigra. They can make a movie about Scarlet Witch or Wasp. Wasp was one of the original. If you go back in the comics, it was her and Ant-Man who created the Avengers.
I heard something about Wasp. I don't know if I heard it like last summer that she might be in a movie. I don't know. I'm probably
wrong. They could make a Thor spinoff about Valkyrie, because there's a...
And Loki.
Can
he
just
have his own
Enchantress? Because in the comics, it's him
it-
and the Enchantress with the Executioner, but, you know. I mean, but last time they made a movie about a Marvel hero who was a female that came out as Elektra. So...
Oh my god,
yeah,
that was
so,
awful.
I mean, I don't know how well that would go.
That was so bad.
Why don't they get a woman to direct it?
It'd have to be someone who...
Silly Serena, women don't do those things. They don't make action movies. They don't direct. Pshaw.
I know that seems ridiculous that, like, a lot of people say women don't make, like, financially successful movies, but they do. Like,
no, I know they do. I was just kidding.
I know you were kidding.
Bigelow directed
Bigelow.
Zero Dark 30.
And she won an Oscar last year, didn't she?
Not last year. Zero Dark 30's up for Best Picture this year, so...
No, I meant another. She made another movie, like The Hurt Locker.
She did The Hurt Locker, yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
But, like, we actually had this discussion in my queer films class. Like, my teacher asked us, like, why are there so few female directors? And he listed, like, and there's tons of women who have directed movies like, Wayne's World and Fast Times at Ridgemont High and, like, these really successful movies. And then that just disappeared. Like, they never did much else.
I mean, maybe it's just, like... I don't know. I mean, more.
It's just sexism in the workplace. I guess.
More men tend to go to school for film, and
I think that's what it is. I think more men
it's just interests. Some stereotypes are like, why don't women do more of these things? A lot of women aren't interested in those things. The majority of them, like, I know, like, and it's not
all the women at my film school right now, like, pretty much. There's so few girls who actually want to be directors. Like, I'm one of them. Like, most of them, they're like, oh, I want to be an editor. I want to be a writer.
I want to be an actress.
Yeah. Well, no.
I want to be an actress.
But, like, a lot of them actually want to do, like, lighting and costumes and stuff like that. And, like, very few of them are, like,
directors. Lots of technical and costumes and stuff. Like,
stuff like that. Like, my friend Christina is actually right now going to school for theater costuming, which is admittedly really cool.
That is really cool.
And I know, like, a bunch of I know, like, tons of girls I went to drama class with in high school. They're like, yeah, I want to be an actress, or I want to be in lighting or costume. I mean, like, every person who did, like, lighting and costuming in our drama circle were the girls. I mean, there are actresses too, but,
I always found it so weird. Like, I don't know if you had this at your high school, but at my high school, like, every time we had a school play, it was always, no matter what, always, like, mostly girls who auditioned, and, like, there'd be, like, 3 boys who auditioned.
Yeah, that's very common, and the acting world is pretty,
Yeah, so what I never
female-based.
understood is why these high school play drama teachers always every year pick a play that has way more male characters than female characters.
Yeah, that's one thing I never understood.
Maybe because there aren't that many for women. I don't know.
Well, there must be. I mean, there's...
No, I'm sure there is, but probably not as much, or they've probably done them already or something. It's not as many.
My school, though, like, we were never allowed to do anything real. Like, we always had to have the scripts that she could get for free.
Oh,
Like,
yeah.
so... Like, we were so mad one year. Me and my friends, actually, we were doing the worst play ever. Like, we weren't allowed to have costumes. We weren't allowed to have sets. The story made no sense. Plus, she was
So
just
it's pretty much a modern show.
she was, like, so insensitive, too. Like, there was a girl in our class whose dad had, like, just died, and they were actually, like, actively looking for his body. And so she, of course, thought, oh, you know what? I should cast her as the girl in the play whose dad gets murdered.
Wow.
Oh my god.
I know.
Wow. There's realism in your performance, and then there's just cruelty.
Yeah, so, like, me and my friends, we got together, and we were like, fuck this. So we wrote a letter to this guy, well, an email, to this guy, Jason McHugh, who was, like, Matt and Trey's friend from university, and he just so happens to own the rights to the Cannibal the Musical play. So we wrote him a letter, and we're like, look, we want to do a play, because ours sucks, but we don't have any money. And he's like, oh, that's cool. You guys can have it for free. And we're like, sweet. So
Wow.
we got everyone we knew who, like, owned a business to, like, give us, to sponsor us, and then we got all these costumes, and they turned out freaking awesome. Actually, if you go on my Facebook, you can see I have pictures from it. There's just the best costumes
Dude,
ever.
that's really cool.
One thing I was always confused about in when I took drama was, like, yeah, like, we would do drama, and then, like, at the end of the year, there would be a musical. One thing that always confused me is because, like, you know, most high school musicals and high school, like, plays, you're not allowed to have, like, a lot of sexual references. So one thing that always confused me as why our teacher said, let's do Grease, which is one of the most sex-filled, like, teen movies out there, especially, like, with the lyrics. It's, like, very sexual when you listen to the lyrics, like, pussy wagon and shit like that. And I'm like, how are we gonna get around this? And we got around it, like, in the most lamest ways. And I'm like, why the fuck did we do Grease, you know?
But didn't they have, like, a school version of that play where it's, like, toned down?
Which I'm pretty sure is the
Probably.
one we did, which just made it awful. To me, the best thing we did in my high school drama career was, like, the very last thing I ever did, which was the very last musical in my senior year, which was we did Beauty and the Beast, which I thought was fucking brilliant.
Who did you
I
play?
was behind the scenes. I didn't get cast for shit.
You were God.
Our teacher had favorites that she casted, so I never got a part in anything.
That's what, oh my god, the stories I could tell you about the drama theater and favorites, oh my god, I'm gonna rage right now, but that has been consistent in, like, every single drama thing I've been a part of in my schools. There's always favorites, and the worst part is the favorites are usually the worst. They're usually the ones who can't do anything.
That was my high school career.
There's this freaking at my school, our teacher, she had, like, these 5 kids she casted every single year, and she actually always casted me and this other girl, Gislina, just because we were so amazing you couldn't not cast us. Like, I don't mean to brag, but I'm pretty much the best actress ever. Like, I know it seems selfish, but I am the best actress ever. Anyway, so yeah, she always casted them and us. But then Gislina, her family, like, they all worked in, like, the Manitoba theater scene, and my dad worked at, like, a lighting company, and my mom did costumes, and so every year we'd, like, we can get you lights and costumes and props and all this shit, and she's like, no, we're just gonna use black boxes. But anyway, so there was, like, 5 kids she always casted, and finally, we all graduated, and all my friends who were younger than us were like, finally, it's our chance, and then all those girls who stayed in Winnipeg, they actually went back and auditioned for the school play this year, even though they're in university, and they got casted.
Why?
That is really sad. Do they have nothing else to do?
I guess not.
Wow, that's so pathetic.
They're still in there. They're still in the high school choir too.
That's really. Are you allowed
That's
to do
disturbing.
That? I didn't think.
I guess.
But I guess
those guys need to be checked out. That's nuts. They're mental.
That's really weird.
And then my friend, like, one of my friends, Grace, she actually was on this TV show called The Next Star, which is like American Idol for little kids, like under 16s, and she made it to the final four, and then she was like, now I have to get a big part in the choir, right? No, you don't.
That shit is always disgusting. In my high school, there was this one girl. She was a sweet girl, don't get me wrong, but dear God, she was an idiot. And the only reason she kept getting recast and everything was she could sing really well, and apparently, like, her parents were really rich, I guess, and like her sister, and like there was a rumor around that like her sister had like a record deal or some shit like that. So therefore, she got to be in every single play, even though she couldn't act. She couldn't act to save her life, but she could sing and dance a little, so they always let her be in the musicals. But
one thing I didn't like about our Beauty and the Beast play was that is this girl who I didn't get to know her very well, but she's a sweet girl from how I got to know her. But I think the only reason they really cast her was because she was the only girl in the cast who, or that they could find who auditioned, who actually kind of looked like could play a belle. Because she was, like, slender, and she had, like, long hair, and she looked very innocent. She didn't even have brown hair. And she couldn't really sing at all, but they cast her because she looked like Belle, basically, so.
Yeah, that's what I hate. I hate that, like, that's what's horrible about the
sweet
favoritism.
Girl,
it's just
she
that, like,
finds this, you're really sweet from when I got to know you. I put your dress on once when you were quick changing. Probably don't remember me at all, but,
Yeah, but that's what's worse about it, though, is that, like, if you have a favorite, fine, but can your favorites be talented? Yeah. That's what my problem is that, like, I mean, I had the same thing in college where there was a lot of favoritism, but those people, although I didn't know them that well, they were talented, and I will give them that, even though, like, literally, we had 4 plays at our college, like, there'd be, like, 2 straight plays and 2 musicals. No matter what, the same people were always in all 4, and they were really talented people. But in my high school, it was always the same people, and they sucked. A lot of them were really bad, and I just kept thinking, like, what the hell do they do to keep getting these things? Like, did you sacrifice a goat? Did you kill somebody? Like, how did you do this? Like, our high school had, like, this, we were, like, part of some kind of, like, theater society bullshit or whatever, and we went to this, like, theater conference with, like, a whole bunch of other schools, and I went just so I could, like, be a part of their group, just so we could be a part of their thespian society and be, like, a member. And they never, like, I went for this stupid, boring trip, and they never really, like, let me in. They didn't give a shit.
I was that person. I was that person around, like, all the actor kids who would, like, try to be friends with everybody. Like, I really, like, because they seemed like genuinely nice people who I had similar interests with, but they did not want anything to do with me, but they just didn't want to be rude to me.
Exactly. Yeah, at least you got that courtesy. When I was trying to do that, they didn't care. Like, they were just like, yeah, we'll put up with you, but we won't talk to you. No, you can stand next to us, but don't, like, be quiet. The big kids are talking.
Yeah, you can stand next to us and laugh at our jokes, but
pretty much, yeah.
That's how it was for me in grade 7 and 8. Like, I was just, like, the odd kid out, right? Never fit in with any of these other kids in the play. But then, like, grade 9, I met this other girl and, like, all her friends and all these new people auditioned. And we just sort of formed our own group. And then by, like, when I was in grade 12, we were, like, the ones on top. And we always had the shittiest parts, but we were the coolest ones. And everyone wanted to be with us.
We're just the coolest kids in town.
Like, we used to just, all the freaking preppy, favorite kids were all also in the choir. And
yes, there was always the popular preppy kids were in the plays. That's how it was for me.
Yeah,
like, the most popular guy was the lead, even though he was good, but he wasn't that good. He wasn't, like, leading man good. You know?
So the choir kids would go on and they'd perform, because the plays we got were always so short that they needed to put the choir on before and during intermission to, like, fill out the time. So the choir was fun. And then me and, like, the freaking cool kids like Megan and this really really flamboyant kid Darnell, who actually got mistaken for a girl a lot. Like, our teacher would be like, ladies, and he'd be like, I am a boy. It was, but anyway, so, like, the 5 of us, we'd just be sitting there, like, in this and it's not really a backstage. It was really ghetto. It was sort of just like this really narrow closet that was really dark with like one light bulb at the top. And so we were sitting on the ground there while the choir is performing, and we're just making fun of them the entire time. We're like, God, they suck. Or like they actually, one of my favorite memories is when they sang I Dreamed a Dream from Les Mis, and my friend, there's a line, something about tigers in that song, and Darnell leans over, it's like, what the hell are they talking about in this song? And then Megan's like, and she's like, no, this song's about the Holocaust. And then Sky's like, there were tigers in the Holocaust.
Oh my god.
I remember when you were talking about the most popular guy being the lead, that happened in our Beauty and the Beast play, except he really was the most popular guy in school. He played football, he played basketball, and he was the nicest guy on the planet. He literally was the purest person I think I ever met in high school.
Was he Jesus?
He was basically the Jesus of school. Like, he didn't hate anybody.
That's what it sounds
He didn't
like.
hate anybody. Every teacher, staff member, principal loved him. And turns out he can act and sing really well. So they cast him as the Beast.
Of course.
And he was like super tall, super attractive. Every girl wanted to be his girlfriend. And like he played football in the fall, and then he played basketball in the spring, and like
Did he ever sleep?
straight A's. And he was just friends with everybody. Nobody hated him. He didn't hate anybody. He was basically Jesus. And
it's nice to know you went to school
yeah,
with Jesus.
it was nice. Yeah, and he's still a great guy. I still have him friends on Facebook. He has like 2,000 Facebook friends.
Wow.
And it's like every
Well,
time
if you're Jesus,
every time he
you
posts
would.
a status, 32 likes, And I'm like, wow. And it's like good to know that you're still popular even though you graduated high school 2 years ago.
It's
Yeah.
so weird that you say that, though, because, like, my high school was so backwards. Like, I always hear these stories about all the athletes being the popular kids, but, like, at my school, if you played on a sports team, you were, like, the bottom. You were, like, the total loser.
Really?
And then,
That's so weird.
it's so weird because the coolest kids were all the kids who were in band and choir.
What backwards world is Canada?
Yeah, that is really weird.
But, like, my school was bizarre, too, because, okay, every
I
other
knew
school
Canada,
around us.
I
we
knew
were, like,
all Canada was a bizarro world. It's like a parallel.
No, because
Oh, that's not nice.
our other schools had the same thing as, like, what you're talking about. But, like, our school, it was so weird because our school was, like, right in the middle of downtown. We were, like, the inner city school. We had the most kids who were involved in gangs. We had the most everything. But we had the least amount of in-school violence. Like, it was so weird. Like, you'd come to school. We never once had a bullying problem. I went to that school grade 7 to grade 12. No one I ever knew, and no, I never saw it myself, ever saw anyone being bullied, like, physically or, like, emotionally. It was so weird. And, like,
Wow.
we were so bizarrely, like, accepting of each other. Like, everyone, like, okay, first of all, like, the majority, you have to understand, the majority was native kids, and then the second majority was, like, immigrants from, like, Africa or the Middle East, and then white kids, and then Asian kids. And so we were, like, really accepting of each other, and it was really weird. No one ever made fun of each other, and, like, every kid who was gay was, like, totally open about it, and we had, like, this transvestite at our school, and everyone was totally cool to her.
So your school's picture perfect, basically.
And actually, something that's really weird is the one time I experienced intolerance at my school, it was, like, totally backwards. Okay, we had this, like, Gay Straight Alliance Day, like, this fundraiser where you bought these, like, rainbow buttons to, like, wear for, like, $3, and everyone had them. Everyone bought, like, 10 of them. Everyone was wearing these buttons around. And by the time I went to buy one at lunch, they were all sold out. So at drama class, at the end of the day, I was sitting there with this girl I knew, Tiffany, and she's, like, this really, really nice, sweet girl. And she's, like, the only Christian at our whole school. She wears this little cross around her neck, and she's, like, the only one who ever prays before she eats lunch and stuff. And so, like, I was sitting with her, and she looked at me, and she's like, oh, you don't have a button. I'm like, yeah, I couldn't get one. And she's like, oh, yeah, I don't support that. And I was like, oh. And then in my mind, what went through my mind was like, oh, well, I can't say anything. That's her religion. I can't be intolerant of
conflict.
So weird.
Schools are weird
that
places.
Gay Straight Alliance shit would not fly at my high school. That shit would not have flied.
You didn't have anything like that, or?
I would always
sorry.
try to do stuff like I live in the South, so like I would always try to do shit like that. Like there was like I think when Don't Ask, Don't Tell was up for like one of its first congressional votes on whether to be repealed or not, like I handed out flyers and I went and spoke in front of classes and shit, and nobody gave a shit, but I didn't care. My parents were really proud of me, so it was like, whatever, you know?
We support you, Greer.
Nobody cared, except, like, for, like, my friends who were just, like, super supportive, but it didn't do anything at all. But it was like, my parents were super proud of me, so, I mean, I guess that's good.
That is good.
One time at my school, a kid came in, like, from a different school. He came in through our back door of our cafeteria with a fucking machete, okay?
Oh my god.
It was, and don't forget, like, this is inner city school. Everyone, except for, like, me and 5 other kids, is involved with a gang, or was involved with a gang, or has a family member that was involved with a gang. And so, this is the most violent thing that's ever happened to our school. This kid comes in with a machete in the cafeteria. These 3 giant, burly native boys stand up and just, like, walk up to him and just back him slowly out of the cafeteria. It was amazing.
That's awesome. Oh my gosh.
The high school I went to was pretty hell. Like, I mean, there was a fight at least twice a week. Just, usually in the cafeteria, because our cafeteria was, like, super small, which was, like, one thing I was always confused about, because our campus was so big. Our campus was just huge. I mean, we had, like, a bunch of different buildings, and so they let us eat outside because the cafeteria was, like, super small and shit. But then, like, every once in a while, and I knew they weren't going to go through with what they were threatening us with, the administration. They were like, if you guys don't pick up your trash outside and throw it away, like, if we see one more piece of trash, we're going to force everybody to eat in the cafeteria. And I'm like, you must be crazy if you think that's going to, like, lessen trash or stop fights, because more fights would result in the crowded cafeteria. And our school, I think at one time our school would have about 1,200 kids. That's a lot.
Wow.
So, and they had 2 lunch periods, so they would split it up. So roughly around 600 kids at once would be getting lunch. So, and you want to put them in an area that's probably the size of a small soccer field. You want to put a bunch of high school kids in that cramped area and think that that's going to work out to your benefit? No, it's not.
Good luck with that.
At least 3 people would be shanked. At least 3 people would get stabbed. Because our high school, you know, prestigious high school, one of the oldest high schools in the country, big campus, really pretty, projects on either side of the school. The projects. On one side, you look, projects. On the other side, projects. So it was just like, wow. I mean, yeah, we had kids in gangs in our school too. I mean, like freshman age kids, and saying they were in gangs. Awful. You know, don't know how many of them were actually in gangs, because I mean, because I've seen that show. Like, there's a show on A&E called Beyond Scared Straight, and it's where they take kids who like say they're in gangs, and these are like 16-year-old kids, 15-year-old kids, and they say they're in gangs and how hard they are, but then they take this group of kids who say all that shit, and they take them on a tour of a prison and have them interact with prisoners about, like, what it's like to be, like, and these prisoners basically school them on how they got in jail being with real gangs and how you would be treated if you were actually in a gang, and these kids will, like, start crying and shit, and it's, like, some of the funniest television ever.
You know
it's
what's
sad,
that
but
I've heard
so cruel, but it is so funny. Like, it is cruel in a funny way.
Yeah, I've seen clips of it, and just I don't know why, but all of a sudden this reference is popping in my head. I used to watch Beavis and Butthead, and they did an episode like that where they took Beavis and Butthead and their class to a jail, and they were just like, telling them like, this is how it is, this is how it's gonna be, and then Beavis and Butthead actually make friends with some of the prisoners, and they start like headbanging.
I think I remember.
It's like, wouldn't that be funny on that show? You catch some of the kids like, what are you doing?
Yeah, but it's like, it's almost scary. Like, you feel like if you were in that situation, you would pee your pants. And it's like,
I'm sure I would.
They take the kids, they put them in the prison yard, they stand them up against the wall, and they're yelling at them like, you better get in that straight line, and shit like that. These officers yelling at them like they're actual prisoners, and then they let actual prisoners into the yard to get up in these kids' face and yell in their face.
Well, it could be worse. They could make them drop the soap.
And these are prisoners that have like, yeah, I killed someone. And I'm like, holy shit.
But, like, the one thing, they do that on Maury, too, with, like, the bad girls, but the one thing I never understood is they always take, like, the girls to the men's prison. I'm like, why don't you take them to the women's prison? They're not going to end up in the men's prison.
Because that's too soft. They gotta go really intense,
they do
hardcore.
that on Beyond Scared Straight. They take the girls to the women's prison and stuff like that.
Well, it just makes more sense, because if you take them to the guys' prison, then they're just going to think, like, oh, well, I'm never going to end up here, and so obviously the girls' prison was too nice for me to...
But these prisoners get up like these inmates get up all in these kids' faces like, oh, what, you gonna cry? We don't you can't cry up in here, fucking bitch. And it's just like really hard to watch, but
sounds like you're able to watch it.
But it's cruel, but to some people it's just like really dark humor, like to me.
Well, I like from my own experience at my school, I find the kids who are actually in gangs, when they go to school, they actually don't like to talk about it because, like, school is, like, the place where they can just kind of forget all of that.
If you're in a gang, you're not supposed to go flaunting it around. If I understand how gangs work correctly, from the documentaries I've seen, you're not supposed to talk about what gang you're in.
Gangs don't work that way.
Well, like, we had this principal at the elementary school, like, when my brother was in grade 5 and 6, and she was, like, so totally paranoid. Like, she was telling these kids, like, you better not bring a weapon to school, Billy. And they're like,
I'll cut you.
And they were like, they got, like, these group of kids got in trouble for throwing snowballs, and she's talking about, you better not bring a weapon, man. But, like, she was, like, okay, so my brother had this, like, group of friends that he hung out with. It was, like, this kid, Maris, who was, like, one of the best kids you will ever meet. He's, like, this kid, he moved here from Macedonia, and he learned English in, like, 2 years, and he's just awesome. And then this other kid, Nick, who's kind of just, like, this shy, quiet kid. He was in my play, Cannibal the Musical. He had one of the lead parts. Really sweet kid. And she told the high school, when they were going to the high school, she told them that they were a gang and that they better separate them because they were a gang and they were always freaking...
What the hell?
Yeah, and they actually did that to me too. Like, I had this teacher, it was so weird. Like, okay, at my school, in elementary school, we were in a class where it was grade 4, 5, and 6 all together. And so at the end of the year, we'd always have a big going away party for the grade 6 class. And, like, in grade 4, it was always, like, 7 grade 6 kids. So grade 4, it was like, yay, we loved you so much, you're so great. Grade 5 was like, yeah, grade 6 kids, you were awesome. And then when me and my friends were in grade 6, they were like, this teacher, she was like, you were honestly the worst grade 6 class I've ever had. And then she, like, wow. Me and my friend Desiree, she tried to, she told the school to separate us. She said that we were we were always causing trouble together. And then when we went to grade 7, we were in 2 separate homerooms. The teachers from both homerooms actually sat us down one day and were like, you girls really seem to get along together. So we've decided we're going to put you in the same class. It was awesome.
Your teachers sound insane.
I told you, Canada's just like a bizarro world over there to us. It's just like, it's like me with it's like me with Fran. She tells me what goes on in England, and I'm like, what the fuck goes on over there?
Teachers are just weird though now. Like, I don't know. Like,
Well, thank God I'm not a teacher.
you're never allowed to like read any actual books. Like all the books that you're supposed to read in high school, they said that they were too hard for us. But then like all these kids would just go and read the books anyways. Like
when everybody was reading like I would always read books on my own, especially in my last 2 years of high school. Like I would just go and like, I mean, yeah, I would have required reading, but I would finish it, and then I would like just like I'd be off in the corner and I'd be reading like Lolita or some shit, which is like,
yeah, I read Lolita in high school, and my freaking teacher came up to me.
That's a banned book over here.
Really? Yeah,
it's a banned like it's like a educational book used for educational purposes. The shit doesn't fly over here.
In English, we had at the beginning of class, you had to have your own book and you had to read it for like the first 10 minutes of class or whatever. And my teacher saw me reading Lolita and he came up to me and he's like, I saw you reading Lolita. That's really awesome. And then me and this other girl, this native girl who was reading Pride and Prejudice, he took us over one day and he's like, we don't usually do this, but I saw that you girls were reading those books. So, and he had this key and he took us in the hallway to this like closet and he opened it up and it was full of books and he's like, these are the books we're not allowed to teach anymore. God. And we went in and we just picked all these books. We're like, oh, To Kill a Mockingbird, I'll take that, and I'll take
you guys are allowed to teach To Kill a Mockingbird? That's weird. No. That's required reading here in some classes. I know
I was actually really looking forward to reading it, but then they said, like, no, it's too difficult for you guys. You can't handle it. You're too stupid.
I know in some high school classes, I know The Hobbit is required reading. So.
Oh, yeah. I wish I had that.
I haven't read The Hobbit. I wasn't in any of those classes, so.
In high school, isn't The Hobbit meant for, like, kids in, like, grade 5?
Yeah, I know The Hobbit was required reading for, like. I know in like some advanced middle school classes, like like advanced literary middle school classes, it would be like The Hobbit in like 7th or 8th grade maybe. But
wow.
Yeah, To Kill a Mockingbird, really? That's weird. That's.
Oh yeah, we had to read To Kill a Mockingbird.
We didn't have to read it, but like I know a lot of classes, like the class I was in. I mean, I would have much rather read To Kill a Mockingbird or The fucking Hobbit. And this is coming from someone who isn't really interested in Tolkien's writing. I would have much rather read The Hobbit than Old Man and the Sea. If I could rewind time and not read Old Man and the Sea again, like I would do that. Old Man and the Sea is atrocious. Oh. I'm sorry, Ernest Hemingway. And he's a very good writer, but Old Man
To Kill a Mockingbird ain't that much better either. Like, I don't know.
I fucking love that book.
The film is superior.
I don't hate the book, but like, I don't know. We read the book and then I saw the movie, and you know, I don't know. I just have this like beef whenever
the general consensus, I think, is like. Even my parents who love books and love that book, like, even they think, like, the film is far superior to the book, which is one of those rare cases.
That's interesting because...
Honestly, I would actually have to, I saw a play version of it, and I thought that beat out the book and the movie by a mile. Yeah, it was like a local play, like, the next town over from my school, and it was brilliant. Everybody in it was great.
Me and my mom, we both love To Kill a Mockingbird, and my cousin Ambra, too. And we all, like, we don't hate the movie. Actually, I think I like the movie a lot more than my mom does. Like, she just can't even stand it. I think it's good on its own, but not compared to the book. But the thing I don't like about the movie is it focuses so much more on the dad and on the trial. And I'm like, this is supposed to be the kid's story, and it's the whole point of the book is that you see it from their point of view, and I think the movie loses so much of that.
Maybe. It's been a while since I've seen the movie, so.
Plus, like, To Kill a Mockingbird has one of my favorite literary characters of all freaking time.
Yeah. Who?
Dill Harris.
Oh, wasn't that her friend that, like, she ran away from home, right?
Yeah, and the author, she actually based it on her real-life childhood friend who was Truman Capote.
Wow.
Wow.
Yeah.
I
That's
heard,
pretty
I
cool.
heard that story before about Harper Lee and Truman Capote. I think I read something about that. But yeah, like, and like in high school, like, and even like sometimes when I wouldn't have literary classes, I would read in other classes. And the weird thing is, like, I know in some classes where the teachers are like real stiffs, like, if you were reading anything that wasn't like the textbook, they would take it up and then give it back to you at the end of the class. But it's like, I'm learning.
Yeah.
I never understood that. I never understood.
Can I
that.
tell a story? Wait, can I tell a story about my grandfather?
Yes.
Because he's
Yes.
awesome. Okay, my
Aw.
grandpa was a teacher. Okay, my grandpa was practically everything, but for a short time in his life, he was a teacher in the 60s and the 70s.
Groovy.
And he taught an English class, and he said that, you know, for the English class, you didn't have to read the book. All you had to do was read one chapter and give a presentation on it. But if you could ask a question about the chapter, you'd get extra points. So then eventually all these kids, they'd want to read the chapter, and he got them to all read
That's
the books.
smart
And they
as
actually
fuck.
and eventually he got them all really into reading to the point where they would like stay inside for recess and just read in the hallway. And the vice principal got really mad at him because there would be all these kids sitting in the hallways during recess reading. And he was like, and he came up to my grandpa and he's like, how can you have these kids reading all the time? It's unacceptable. They're reading during their other classes. And so then he said, okay, fine, I'll take care of it. So he went and talked to his students and he said, look, here's the thing. If your other classes are boring, you can always just take a book and hide it behind your binder and read it instead of paying attention. And so then he got really mad at him, and he was like, and my GP would read during class, and he would say, like, no one's allowed to bother me while I'm reading. And the vice principal was like, how can you read so much? Like, and they had a meeting, and the vice principal like turns to the principal like, when's the last time you even read a book? Like, high school? And he's like, I know. And my GP is like, well, I mean, I know what you I was lucky if I could finish like 5 books a week. Like, jeez.
Wow.
But then, so long story short, he got fired.
Oh.
Aww.
Yep.
Knowledge lost to the world. That's
Yeah.
awful. Yeah, but like I was always reading like books that would be like Lolita, like books that high schoolers don't normally read.
I didn't read that much. Like, I read like the school requirement books, but like, I don't know. I read a few things. Like, I have a couple of cool books that that I have. Just, I don't know. I wasn't that. I don't know. I read a few things. Just not a
I
lot.
was reading like Girl with the Dragon.
I was never into
reading,
it.
like Girl with the Dragon tattoo and shit. Like, and like when we were learning about like Of Mice and Men or some bullshit like that. Of Mice and Men is okay, by the way. It's not bullshit.
I kind of like that
It's not
story.
bullshit. It's okay.
Yeah.
You know, whatever. I was reading about, Elizabeth Salander getting anal raped in Girl with the Dragon Tattoo, and it was just like, this is a contrast.
Whoa.
Spoiler,
Yeah, really.
that happens in Girl with the Dragon Tattoo.
Yeah, I didn't see the movie. Way to
That's-
go.
Well, it's in the book, too.
Do they
I didn't
show
read
that
the
in
book
the movie?
either.
They don't
They
show
do
that in the movie, do they?
In both
Dude, you
movies.
can show anything in the
both
movies.
Well, there's a question of what you're allowed to show, and then there's a question of, like,
It's rated
taste.
R.
Yeah, well, people
It
don't
happens,
care
and it's
sometimes.
Not, it's not something that they glorify or anything. It's a horrible thing that happens to her.
Yeah, I think they probably would have to show, because isn't it like the motivation of the story, right?
Some of it is. Yeah, it has a lot to
Okay.
Events lead up to it, and then that's what motivates her to do something awful.
Oh, okay, okay.
You guys gotta read those books. It's fucking amazing. Girl with the Dragon. I stand by.
Yeah, there's
I
a
stand by
bunch
my
of books I
statement
have
that
to
Girl with
read.
the Dragon Tattoo is one of the best book series written of all time. Like, that is some of the greatest
Didn't the guy,
literature I've ever read.
didn't that guy, like, die who
Stieg
wrote the
Larsson
book?
did die. He was actually, he wrote the first 3, and then he was actually gonna write another one, but, like, he had died or something before he got to finish the transcript for it. Or, like, even, all the Girl with the Dragon Tattoo books, like, oh, shit, I'm mixing up my story about Stieg Larsson, because he was a really interesting guy. Shit. Hold on, I'm gonna edit this out and make myself sound.
It's okay. You don't have to rack your brain.
No, because the Millennium series is all 3 Girl with the Dragon Tattoo books. That's what they're called, basically. And I think he had died. It was 2000, early 2000s, because
sometime in 2000s.
And the reason he died, he had a heart attack because it was really weird. He had a heart attack. He was 50 years old. He died of a heart attack because in his office the lift wasn't working, the elevator wasn't working, so he climbed 7 flights of stairs and then he had a heart attack. Yeah, it was really weird. And I think
it's funny how a guy who could write books like that would have such a sort of epic death.
I have the story back in my, now that I thought about it. It was after his death that the books were actually published.
Yeah, because I remember hearing this interview on, like, CBC Radio they did with, like, his wife, and she said that he hated the title Girl with the Dragon Tattoo, and he never wanted that to be the title.
Oh, well, what did he want it to be?
I don't know. They were, at the time they found them, they were manuscripts, they were unpublished, and it was a trilogy. It was Girl with the Dragon Tattoo, Girl Who Played with Fire, and The Girl Who Kicked the Hornet's Nest. And then there was about 3/4 of a 4th book on one of his computers, and then, like, synopses of a 5th and a 6th book. I think it was originally going to be about 9 or 10 books, but
Holy crap.
He never, like, all he had was, like, just synopsises, and he had about 3/4 of a 4th one manuscripted out, so, and that's never really been released, at all, I think, to anybody, so... It would have been interesting, because I've read all 3. I read all 3 in about 2 months, and those are, like, really thick-ass books. But I could not put those books down. And, it would have been so interesting to see what would have happened after the 3rd one.
Well, that's, like, one of my biggest fears. Like, I have all these ideas for, like, films and TV shows, and, like, one of my biggest fears is, like, if I die before I get to, like, have all these ideas come to fruition, like, that is so scary to me.
Well, then put them in a place where people can find them.
They won't do it right. They'll, like, take my script and then they'll direct it all wrong or something.
Well, at least, that may be true, but at least it will be done. At least it will see the light of day.
Plus, then when I think about it further, it's like, well, I won't really care because I'll be dead. And
exactly.
I'm reading the Wikipedia page, which is Wikipedia is so reliable. But I think one of the original title for Girl with the Dragon Tattoo, since you mentioned he didn't originally want them to be in the name, the original title for the first Girl with the Dragon Tattoo is Men Who Hate Women, and then the next one was.
That's a boring name.
That would have just blown off the shelf.
When you read it and you think about that title, it makes a lot of sense.
I'm sure it does, but like
it makes sense.
But you gotta, like, capture your audience. Like, no one's gonna read a book. Like,
and then the next one was Girl Who Played with Fire. And then the 3rd one originally translates out to the grandiose fantasy that was blown up. Which was then given the title Girl Who Kicked the Hornet's Nest. Which, I mean, I guess that's kind of a good translation of it, don't you think?
I guess.
And, like,
I should read those books. I know I should.
I know even after Stieg Larsson's death, he won, like, awards, well, the books did, for, like, being such, advocate.
God, sounds like a Van Gogh story, where he becomes famous after he died.
Being such advocates against domestic violence, because a lot of it is about, Lisbeth Salander, as a woman, is taken advantage of, and then she fights back. That's about half of the story, and then the other half of the story is, Mikael Blomkvist's. I'm butchering that last name because I can say it in my head, but when it comes out of my mouth, it's like blah, blah, blah. And it's Swedish. But and then the other half is like him trying to figure out this mystery or whatever, and then their stories end up colliding, and then and those books are just like so brilliant. Oh my god, probably the best like psychological thriller books I've read, which I haven't read a lot to be honest, but I mean, fucking great. Yeah, we're gonna wrap up in a second. So, anything else anybody want to get out there real quick? Promoting stuff?
Nope. My show's pretty much on hiatus right now until I can finish all this paperwork. So, yeah. Keep watching, and thanks for watching.
Yeah, we post it, so, I mean.
Aw, thanks, hon.
We'll let it...
Happy Valentine's Day, everybody.
For those who celebrate it. Tired of that.
Yeah, I can't wait.
Everyone posting about Valentine's Day being Singles Awareness Day is getting really overrated, by the way. I wish everybody in the world would stop doing that.
I know. I'm sick of everybody hating on it, too.
I'm single, and I don't give a fuck.
Who cares?
And Melissa, who's in our group, she wholeheartedly agrees with me on this stance that the best part about Valentine's Day, even no matter whether you're single or taken, is when you go to the grocery store a couple days after and all the Valentine's Day candy is like 75% off.
Dude, now you've given me something to do.
That's the best part about
Thank you.
Christmas, Halloween, and Valentine's Day.
I never thought of that.
Well, Valentine's Day is your parents go out on a date, like, you know, your dad takes your mom to go see David Cassidy or something, and then you and your brother get the whole house to yourself all night, and you can just watch nostalgic music videos.
Woo! Have fun.
Is David Cassidy in town over there?
He was.
I guess.
He was? My mom would have loved that. She loved David Cassidy. She was my age.
Oh, my mom.
She's like, Greer, we're going to Ontario. We're going to Canada.
My mom freaking brought her David Cassidy comic book to get signed.
Why didn't you tell Linkara this?
I didn't even know they had a David Cassidy comic book, but now it's like
that's how my mom can relate to my obsession with Adam Lambert. Is like, you know, when I was your age, I was that way with the Osmonds and David Cassidy.
The Osmonds? Ew.
Donny Osmond back when he was like super dreamy. And not all Mormon. Not all Mormon.
Yeah, like, I have the Donny Osmond Ken doll, okay? Like.
My mom loved Donny and Marie. She wanted to be Marie Osmond.
No, my mom was like that too. She had a thing for the Beatles, so I know what you mean.
My mom was like that, except whenever I tell her that, I was like, she'll be like, I can't believe you have the crushes on these, like, celebrities. I'm like, you had a crush on David Cassidy. She's like, I was way younger than you. I was only in, like, grade 7.
No, my mom was the same way. She had that and the Beatles, Burt Lancaster, and I think Clark Gable. She loved all the old movie stars.
I think all my mom liked was David Cassidy, the Osmonds, and the Partridge Family.
Oh, my mom, oh my god. She, like, that's, like, the most overplayed record at our house.
And now all she watches is David Duchovny and Mad Men. Reruns of the X-Files.
She will now that she'll hear this story about his penis.
Reruns of the X-Files and Mad Men.
Oh, my friend Sky is obsessed with X-Files. She has the hugest crush on David Duchovny.
No, her and my mom would get along really well. She's like,
next week we'll get David Duchovny on the show.
He's my imaginary husband, and I'm like, you're really weird.
My freaking friend Sky, she talks to me about this shit. She's like, oh my god, did you know that when Gillian Anderson was pregnant, the first person she sold was David Duchovny? Like, what's going on there? Like, do you think it's his baby? I do.
An X-Files baby. That's an episode I'd watch. It'll be and the twist, it'll be an alien baby.
I always keep my mom up to date on how Gillian Anderson and David Duchovny, when their lives cross paths, because, like, I've told her before, it's like, you know, like, the sci-fi community would blow up if Mulder and Scully actually got together in real life, but...
Oh my god, fanboys would be exploding.
Now that he's been separated from Téa Leoni, and, like, she's still married, I think, but I'm not sure. I know she has a kid, so, you know.
You know what's weird? This one time I went on this audition, and the guy never showed up, but like his teacher was there, so me and the teacher just kind of hung out and talked a little bit, and he told me that he used to date her. Like, they had an apartment in New York City together, and they lived together for a while, and that she was really sweet. And I'm just like, that's so interesting.
That's really weird. That's actually kind of cool, though.
Yeah.
I like Gillian Anderson, but, you know.
Yeah, she seems like a cool chick.
I remember for the longest time, when David Duchovny was married to Téa Leoni, like, my mom hated Téa Leoni for absolutely no reason other than the fact that she was married to David Duchovny.
Hey, I can relate. I mean, you know, it happens.
It's like, usually if it's like someone I have a crush on, it's like, oh, I'm happy for you, but my mom, like, literally had hate for Téa Leoni for no reason.
You will die.
I think that's my theory on why so many Lupa fanboys hate Bayless. They're like, why? She should be with me! She should be with me!
Be with me, my weird voices.
That's what all the Tigwajik fanboys sound like, by the way. That's the voice I envision in my head.
Well, I envisioned the douchey voice, so...
So many podcasts when you weren't here, we were missing your douchey impression. Fran would bring it up, and she would try to do it, but then she's like, no, Georgia does it better. And then we'd get sad for about a second, and then we'd move on and talk about butts.
Yeah. I'm sorry, just things have been really busy around here. Like, just a lot of, like, I don't know, it's actually a lot of drama and shit, but everything's okay now. But yeah, that's why I've been away. So
I'm gonna try to have it so the podcast is starting to be every week, because it's starting to get to every 2 weeks, but that's not how we want to schedule it.
It'll be like the nostalgia
like,
critic.
Exactly like the nostalgia. Like the weeks that there aren't nostalgia critics, there'll be new podcasts.
Oh, that's a good idea.
But it's especially pathetic for us because we don't even have to write anything.
It is. It's just the fact that I'll forget, or it's like one person can come on, and then it's like, well, nobody else can. We can't really do one with 2 people. It'd be kind of boring. I at least like to have 2 or 3 other people.
Yeah. Ugh. I missed you guys. I'm definitely gonna try and do more if I can. I missed you guys. No!
Fran will be really happy when she listens to this.
Yeah, Fran, we missed you.
Yeah, that's gonna end it for today. I'm probably gonna go take a nap. That's how we end every podcast. Like, I'm gonna go take a fucking nap.
I'm so exhausted from telling all my feels.
I'm so exhausted from just sitting here.
Talking about David Duchovny and John Hamm's penis.
John Hamm's large cock.
Okay, so a bunch of people from my dorm are going to, like, this burger place at 6:30. Should I go with them or should I not go with them? Because on the one hand, it's burgers. But on the other hand, it's really cold out and I have to walk.
Burgers?
I do like burgers. That's the good part. The bad part is that
it's
cold out and I have to walk.
Dude,
fuck it. If you're going with a group of people, then you won't notice the cold. Just go. It'll be fun.
Get some fucking burgers.
Okay.
God damn, that should be the number one.
I'll go. I'm starving. I'm actually gonna go. I'm gonna go out to eat after this.
I'll walk over there, Serena. I'll go.
Me too. Road trip, Greer.
You just stay there until we get there, and then we'll go.
Yeah, it'll be like several hours.
You better hurry,
because a couple of days. We might have to cross a couple of time zones, but technically, my friend posted a status about this. He's like, because he was playing around with time zones. He's like, a flight to Los Angeles takes 4 hours, but with the time zones, it would only technically take 1 hour. So it takes you 1 hour, 1 hour to fly a 4-hour trip. I'm like, did you just figure that out on your own?
I know time zones are tricky.
I'm like, did you just figure that out on your own, or did you just not know anything about time zones?
Have you guys been on a plane recently?
I've never been on a plane.
In March, yeah.
Okay, what's up with the new entertainment systems they have, whether you can, like, pick, like, one episode of, like, their 5 crappy shows?
I don't know. I rode on Virgin Airlines when me and my class went to London, and I loved it. Like, you keep seeing all those commercials where, like, you can watch anything. They're all true, and it's so much fun. I got to watch like 2 or 3 movies, like a bunch of episodes of Big Bang Theory. I got to listen to like music. Oh my god, I loved it. And I really don't like flying just because it's so boring. But I loved it.
Would be the only.
Yeah, but I'm on like Air Canada, so we have like very few American shows that they can get the rights to.
Just like, can't you just watch like Canadian shows?
Well, yeah, so you can pretty much either watch Trailer Park Boys, SCTV, The Big Bang Theory, or
She's
Bewitched.
really disappointed that you can't watch Lil Bush on there.
Yeah, the people demand it. It's popular now, I swear.
You know, that would be pretty funny, because I did watch a couple Big Bang Theories on my flight.
That would be the only reason, like, I would, if I go to MagFest next year, that would be the only reason that I would choose taking a plane over taking a train, because even though trains are considerably cheaper, way cheaper actually, there's nothing to do on them. Unless it's like a BYOB, bring your own bullshit on the train.
Me and my brother went on a train one time, and it was like the only time we ever went on a train, and we've just had like, my mom got us like Gatorade, and we're usually not allowed to drink Gatorade, but she like snuck Gatorade into our bag, so when we got on the train we had the Gatorade, and we're like, oh my god, it's so awesome. And then they had earplugs, and they were like really cool, because my brother's never seen that kind of earplugs that like expand in your ears before. And then he like made a little slit in each earplug with his thumbnail, and then he was like pretending they could talk. And then there was this Australian guy next to us, and he was like, hey, you can have my earplugs too.
Wow.
The good thing, I always tell this to people, to people who like, man, I don't want to fly, I just fucking hate security. If you want to take a train, number one, it's considerably cheaper. Number two, on trains, they don't make you go through security.
Yeah, you could bring your shotgun safely knowing that nobody will touch it.
You don't have to go through a single security check. Even when I was in Washington, D.C., getting on the train, they didn't make me go through a single security check.
Yeah, that's true, because, like, if we were on a plane, my mom never would have been able to sneak Gatorade in with us.
She would have been arrested.
Gatorade? What
the guy I sat next to, who I made friends with on the train on the way back, he brought, like, 5 McDonald's hamburgers with him.
Did he
God, you're making me hungry.
He's like, you want to share? And I'm like, God, yeah.
Hell yeah.
He was probably more like, yes.
It's like, bring your own entertainment to a train. And for someone like me who has no laptop or anything like that, it's like awful. I just have nothing to. It was like those trips to and back were probably the worst part of my trip, because it was basically just like sitting there for 14 hours doing nothing, not being able to sleep or anything.
You need to travel with my brother. He is like the single most entertaining person on the planet.
Yeah, I mean, I'm glad at least both times I had people to hang out. Like, I met people on there and like had someone to talk to, but it's basically like half the time us complaining about, man, this is taking really long.
My brother, just to cheer me up, he will get dressed up in his full army gear and with his airsoft gun, and then he'll put on Kesha and he'll start dancing, and you can only see his eyes, and it's the funniest thing in the world.
That's so weird.
Or like when he was little, he used to do impressions, and I could just get him to do an impression.
Can you take that something like that would go viral on YouTube? You know that, right?
I took a video of it, but I lost my freaking iPod over the.
We'll do it again.
And I was like, what the. Well, I need to go home first,
do it.
so I
She
can actually
needs it, man.
But anyway, like when we were little, I could just tell him to do an impression. He'd do it. Like he would do impressions. Like I'd be like, Mac, do your impression of the dad from Peter Pan, and he'd be like, poor Nana, poor Nana. And the other impression he did was he did Jack Nicholson, and I don't know how he came up with this, but he was like 5 years old, and I'd be like, Mac, do your impression of Jack Nicholson, and he'd go and he'd clear his throat, and he'd do this little song. He's like, I'm Jack Nicholson, and you're Jack Nicholson's wife.
Wow.
Wow.
The thing about my brother says really funny things, like super, like things that have put me on the floor before. And once he does it, he'll never do it again. He has this thing where, like, if he does something funny and I ask him to do it again, he won't. He refuses to.
Oh, I hate that my dad's like
He's
that.
like, you get it once. You should learn to pay attention and
Everybody gets one.
And like live in the moment and appreciate every second of your life. And I'm like, well, I just asked you to do that voice you did again. It would take you 2 seconds of your life and save you no breath, take no minutes off your life. He's like, nope.
Like, my dad, he writes, like, these hilarious songs that are just so funny and so catchy, and he won't record them. He's like, no one will take me seriously if I record them. And he's like, he has this great song he does in this Mexican accent, and it's like this, like, Mexican-sounding guitar riff, and he's like, I'm the cat whisperer, and you must call him sir. And it's just this great song. Record it!
Oh, God. How long ago did we say we were going to end? Like, 20 minutes ago?
Hours,
20 minutes ago.
days.
Yeah.
I'm so hungry.
Yeah.
Get a burger for me, Fran. I mean, I'm sorry, Serena. I don't know why I called you Fran. I'm hallucinating.
I'll send you
Hunger.
a mail. It'll probably be good.
Yeah. We need to wrap up, because we're all going to die if we sit here anymore.
And I had to pee since
Oh,
we
good.
started,
That's
so.
a good thing.
I hear you on that.
Well, thank you, everybody. Thank you
Yes,
guys
thank
for being here, for taking time out of your days.
My busy
Yeah.
schedule of doing nothing. Hang out with my
Fran
boyfriend.
couldn't make time for us today. She was busy. We're probably interrupting her tea time, so she's probably.
No, she's probably IMing Film Brain or something.
Either while they're both drinking tea, they're having tea time right now with each
course.
other. So.
Yeah.
Indubitably.
So we're gonna sign off for now till next week. Hopefully next week.
Bye.
Bye, everybody.
Bye.